Hey, this is a toy link, the way your kitchen I'm gonna sing. Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the Games Kids. Today, and only today, we are here to talk about some Sonic movie news. I know it's been a minute since some Sonic movie news, and we got actually a pretty big announcement apparently by Paramount today that's been going on. So I figured we'd check it out. Yap, you know how I am with when I get my movie or any news of Sonic. I can go on forever. So let's get right into it. But of course, if you enjoy the content, you want to support your boy, just subscribe. All right, get a sub, become a member. Just please, bro. We're almost at 70K. Please. Let's start. Funny enough, this was all caused by the Minecraft movie, right? So Minecraft movie envy puts Gen Z video game adaptations front and center, right? So everyone involved in a Minecraft movie was hoping their adaptation of the beloved game, which debuted in 2011. So this all comes from a article by The Wrap. Now, I'm going to tell you guys something crazy that I did not tell people on the internet. And I won't, you have to watch this video to know this. I wanted to pay for this article because you have to pay to access it just in case someone didn't get the full reporting. And I paid like $150 for, something that was reported correctly, but whatever, it is what it is. So let's go ahead and talk about this. So this comes out of Minecraft movie envy puts Gen Z video game adaptations front. So just talk about how, the Minecraft movie has just been this like crazy success for the company, right? And we've got some talks over here saying, I will say that myself, legendary and the filmmakers behind Minecraft believed in the potential for it. Kate Adams Sr., vice president of producer of Warner Bros. Pictures, told The Wrap, but I did expect people to be jumping on each other's shoulders and screaming chicken jockey and filming on TikTok. No, I didn't expect that, right? As of Sunday, Minecraft movie has amassed a total of $720 million, comprised of $340 million domestically and $376 internationally. Now, this is kind of crazy, right? Obviously, we're going to get into some Sonic movie talk stuff, but you're already seeing the Minecraft movie do better than the Sonic movie. Now, obviously, here we're a little biased, right? We love Sonic here and everything, but I will say, like, there's definitely a sad feeling because I feel like the Minecraft movie, for a lot of people are enjoying it. I know that, right? But it's definitely a movie that's being rewarded for being like a meme. Like it's going viral, in meme culture, right? You're seeing these viral videos of people, erupting when Chicken Jockey shows up in Flint and Steel in the Nether, and all this stuff. And it's definitely being rewarded in a sense for that, behavior, which I don't like that precedent because it almost makes you worry about like future Sonic movies. I'm like, are they going to try to lean into memes and all that stuff? But I don't know. By now, it's well known all around Hollywood that video games are the new comic books. Adaptations of these properties have proved to be successful in recent years on both the big and small screens. From HBO's Emmy-winning The Last of Us, which saw 5.3 million US viewers for season 2 premiere, to the Sonic the Hedgehog series, which continues to be a juggernaut for Paramount. Its third installment currently ranks as the 6th highest grossing video game movie of all time, earning over 514 million worldwide, which I don't know if this is new reporting because the last thing we knew was that it was at 490 million. So, but it seems that we have an updated number here where it actually did pass 500 million, maybe, including digital numbers, which is a pretty big deal. And then, of course, the reveal comes here saying Paramount has already penciled a fourth film for 2027 and is eyeing spin-off features, aka eyeing, spin-off movie feature films. Now, this is true, right? Beyond Sonic being a success, we are just starting to see the boom of video game movies. Right? We are at the point where video games are such a mainstream success in general that now these movies that are coming out for them are doing incredibly well. I mean, Mario movie made $1 billion, the Minecraft movie is eyeing $1 billion, Sonic $500 million. We know there's more video game movies in development, right? Pikachu, Detective Pikachu made a lot of money at the box office. Last of Us is doing well. Like, we're seeing the new gen of people really enjoy it. And I think we all know, like, there's a certain flavor to video games getting movie adaptations. Obviously, at the end of the day, a game is more, fun to play fundamentally than, a movie, right? But there's a way you can adapt it properly, like Sonic movie. But of course, let's talk about this, right? So Paramount has penciled the fourth film 27 and is eyeing spin-off features, right? So we've talked about before about what they potentially might be doing. But yeah, this is our first time confirming that we are eyeing spin-off features, multiple of them. And this is sounding like movies, right? This is not sounding streaming like shows or Paramount Plus stuff, and that's a big deal. You know what I mean? There's a lot I want to talk about when it comes to that, right? Because in some ways it's a big deal, but it's also like a big risk, right? Because I think Sonic is a really strong IP right now. You know, I wanted to make a video actually recently called like the state of Sonic. Like, we are seeing Sonic see really big mainstream success. I mean, Sonic is still at the point where everybody knows Sonic, right? They at least were aware there was a Sonic movie that was doing super well, right? The games are selling really well. We're not like yet at juggernaut numbers. Like, we're not at the point where games are selling like 10, 20 million copies yet, but the IP is doing really well. And so I wonder how strong are Sonic's characters to be able to carry on their own spin-off movies, right? As opposed to something that's a little more safer, like a show, right? Like the Knuckles show, as you know, disappointing as it was for me, was a really big success for Paramount Plus. That was one of their most viewed, you know, shows in terms of hours and everything. But obviously, reception-wise for the fans, it wasn't really people's favorites. It's funny because like it's funny because on Rotten Tomatoes, it actually reviewed super well. In fact, a lot of the Sonic projects review super well on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm pretty sure like Sonic Movie 3 is at like an 88%, you know, certified fresh, which is like probably I think it's like the second highest reviewed video game thing ahead of it. And in fact, like I think it's the #1 video game thing. The only thing ahead of it is something like it's one of those like weird movies like a Dungeon and Dragons, something where it's like kind of a game, but you know what I mean. There's a bit more to this article that I'm actually curious to read about, like what are their stats about potential other Sonic movies here that could succeed, right? Now the success of a Minecraft movie cements a very specific aspect of this trend. It's not just video game adaptations that are proven to be successful, it's adaptations of games with large Gen Z and Gen Alpha audiences. It makes sense. Kids and teenagers who are part of Gen Alpha now say they talk to their friends more often about video games than movies, TV shows, music, or sports. According to a study of 1,500 kids aged 6 to 17 conducted by National Research Group, 66 participants said they talked about video games frequently, as opposed to 59% say they frequently discussed movies. We're also even seeing like the FNAF movie. Like, we are just seeing a big time for these, you know, films and adaptations, right? So we were talking about how the Knuckles series reviewed super well, but wasn't really big by fans. But I think them doing more Sonic movies is ultimately healthier for the IP, right? I think it leads to bigger budgeted projects, because that was the biggest thing I felt like the Knuckles series lacked, right? Was that it was very clear that it was under a budget. You know, there's a reason why there was a lot of weight in it and not a lot of Knuckles. It's probably because that was really expensive for a show, right? To have all the Knuckles CG, and if it was going to focus on Knuckles, because like we're seeing them learn and have more focus on the Sonic characters. I mean, Sonic Movie 3 is a perfect example of how you do a mix of like the Sonic cast and the human cast, which I think is still important. You still gotta have both of those in there, right? But Movie 3 did a really incredible mix of that, right? And the Knuckles series didn't. And I think them potentially shifting away from, you know, TV shows is probably healthier to make these grandiose things. I mean, Shadow the Hedgehog alone, I really feel like cemented that he's getting a spinoff, right? Like, I think that is a no-brainer. I think the name of Keanu sells it. I think how popular Shadow is as a character could 100% sell his own movie, you know? And obviously what the plot could be, we've talked about what it potentially could be, especially if, you know, this makes a lot of sense considering what movie 4 is going to be about, right? We're potentially seeing a Sonic CD announcement, and I don't really think Shadow has too much of a place in that storyline, right? Like, he could appear as like a cameo appearance or an ending thing, but, you know, a lot of us know that like that storyline doesn't really involve Shadow the Hedgehog. In fact, I feel like there's no way to really do Shadow well in Sonic Movie 4, right? Because Shadow is a show stealer. That's like a main character right there. So it's like with Shadow, it's either like he's got to be part of the main thing, right? Or what you do is you do this Shadow spin-off movie, and then when they do a Sonic Movie 5, like you get the reconvergence depending on what the big scenario might be. Right now, let's talk about what potential spin-off movies could there be, because they're saying they're eyeing a few features, and I could already probably think of a few in my mind. So let's start obvious one, Shadow the Hedgehog, right? I feel like that's the number one they're gonna announce, you know, later this year. I feel like they gotta announce it later this year, right? If we're getting Sonic Movie 4, or I guess maybe next year, right? Sonic Movie 4 is still 2027, which makes you upset. But I guess within the next year, we're gonna learn at least of a, you know, announcement of one of these things. But Shadow the Hedgehog makes the most sense, right? You obviously know that in Sonic Movie 3, they hinted, right, at, you know, Shadow being an alien, right? You know, you have the black comet that he's quite literally from, you know, and he's back on Earth. Now, are they gonna do the amnesia plot point from Shadow the Hedgehog? I doubt it, right? I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section below. But yeah, I think when it comes to Shadow, they could easily do a thing of, you know, trying to explore where he comes from, you know, potentially a Black Doom, you know, the black arms, like more like of an alien plot line, which would be kind of cool if they did something like that. I don't know how you do something like Black Doom without being a little ridiculous. I feel like if anything, they might maybe take a story further. They might explore the Sonic 06 route where potentially he is working for Gun, right? Doing some missions and he discovers his own thing. Maybe, you know, Rouge and Omega get added to the plotline. I feel like Omega feels like a given to me. I mean, I say even Rouge. Like, Rouge is such a perfect character to be introduced to Knuckles as well as Shadow, right? Because like she's such a good bridge between them, right? Because with Rouge, she has her more like flirty, aggressive dynamic with Knuckles, you know, where they yell at each other and they're both, you know, try to get, you know, there's the aspect of the Master Emerald jewel thieving, yada yada. And then obviously when it comes to Shadow, you have the idea of a friend, right? Someone who can actually be there for him, right? And you know, and actually help him by his side. And we also don't even know what's about to happen with Agent Stone, right? Is Agent Stone gonna work with Shadow, right? Potentially. I doubt it. I feel like they're gonna walk their own paths, but it seemed like they were kind of building something with them, right? So that'd be kind of a fun thing to potentially explore. We have that aspect, right? And of course you have, you know, the potential with Shadow the Hedgehog with a lot of stuff. I mean, I don't think they're gonna do the Shadow Gen's plot line, right? I feel like it's either gonna be something like 06 where he works with Gun and some looming threat shows up. It's interesting to think about this, and I wonder, like, in the comment section below, like, where do you go next with Sonic's plot lines? Because after Adventure 2, you definitely start to enter the more like I don't know, there's not many like obvious storylines you pick, because with Shadow you gotta do Gun / Black Arms, right? Or you gotta do 06 style with Mephiles, which, you know, is creepy, but would they do it, right? You know, you have Sonic Heroes, which that seems like it's gonna be I feel like Sonic Heroes is somewhat what they're gonna do with Sonic Movie 4 with, like, you know, Metal Sonic, potentially you might get Neo Metal and stuff like that. But yeah, regardless, Shadow the Hedgehog to me feels like the most obvious, like, #1 spin-off character that they would do. Another option, right, for a spin-off. Now, this is one that I feel like is an understated concept, right? Before we get into other characters, an animated film, right? I think the way, you know, there's a way to have this universe still exist while potentially doing, you know, some sort of, you know, feature film that's animated, right? I feel like that way you still carry the Sonic name. It's still under Paramount, Nickelodeon, which have explored animation. I mean, you've seen with Transformers 1, you've obviously seen like the TMNT movie that looks beautiful, right? Like there is some really good creative shit going on over there at Paramount. Let me look up what else they've got, you know, in a recent thing that looks beautiful, right? They've got Tiger Apprentice, which looks like it's going to come out in 2024, which looks like, well, no, it came out. That has a unique art style. You have Transformers, Paw Patrol, Rango. Like, I don't know. I feel like Paramount has some pretty good animated teams, you know, whether it's like they do the Madagascar movies and everything. Yeah, like they've got a pretty good animated team. And so I feel like if they worked with Martha Studio on potentially an animated Sonic movie, that way you can sort of keep Sonic and the gang there, but maybe tell some kind of different, you know, alternate universe plot line. Obviously an animated movie, something fans would have wanted for a long time, and I really think it would be a success. I don't think it would be, you know, as successful, sadly, as like a movie 3, right? But I feel like if it made like 200 to 300 million even, that would still be pretty good. And that way you still, like, you know, you appeal to the fans, you can do something different, you can keep Sonic and friends while having a different kind of movie. Because like an animated movie and a live action one like work under completely different things. Obviously, you know, you have directors, you have writers and everything, right? But, you know, an animated team versus, you know, actors, you know, real life actors going to sets and all these things are very completely separate projects. And I hope they can somewhat coexist. And I would love to see something like that. Now, obviously, you think of other characters we have, right? We got Eggman, which I don't want an Eggman movie spinoff. I feel like Eggman has to operate as a villain or with someone. Now, people are talking about Tails and Knuckles. Tails, I don't know. I mean, I love Tails. That's my guy, but Tails is not carrying a movie, right? He's, you know, the fun spin-off character. He'd be always, I think Tails always kind of should be part of the Sonic, you know, plot line or Sonic story. But I mean, if they were to take that risk, I mean, shit, I really wouldn't be too mad at it. It's not something I would expect from them, right? You know, we do know that there is rumors of them potentially bringing up the Chaotix, right? The Chaotix have been a big discussion point as of lately. We know they exist, right? Because there was that like one comic before Sonic Movie 2 came out where like you saw where Knuckles' dimensions were, and you saw the Chaotix in the background. So they exist. And so again, we just face a problem there where like the Chaotix can't carry a movie, but Knuckles potentially could, and he could go see the Chaotix, right? I feel like that's how you sort of bridge in other Sonic characters, right? Because you essentially are at a point with Sonic movie, right, where you can't overflood the cast, right, in one movie. I feel like now we're at the point where you have to start putting characters in different dimensions, not dimensions, like directions. Otherwise, you get oversaturated, right? Because now we have Sonic, Tails, Knuckles. We're about to have Metal Sonic. We're about to have Amy, and then we have Shadow. Like, we have a lot of, you know, the main Sonic cast, but we still have a lot more to introduce that people really do love, right? I mean, Silver the Hedgehog's a big character people love. Blaze the Cat, right? Rouge, right? You have the Chaotix. I'm sure they want to do something silly with Big the Cat, but that's more of like a bit kind of thing. I'm sure they want to introduce Cream. I'm sure they want to introduce Cheese. You know, I feel like that stuff is, you know, these are characters that you want to probably introduce, but they can't always fit in the main thing, but they would work as like side films and projects, right? I really do think if they want to introduce the Chaotix in a film, you do something as a Knuckles movie, right? And again, like, this is just where my, like, you know, worry comes from. I'm like, again, like, I love Knuckles. He's awesome. Well, can Knuckles carry his own movie? I don't know. Like, I don't know if he can. I would love that, right? Because, like, that would mean we are living in a really successful place with the Sonic cast, right? If Knuckles is out here straight up, like, carrying his own movie, doing his own thing, I'm absolutely happy, right? Because, like, with Shadow, I have no doubt he can do it. Now, another character, right? Silver. Right, what's going on with Silver? I feel like that's a character you definitely want to have in here eventually. I feel like you gotta, I don't know, it's hard to see like where they're going with this, right? Because like I said, after the adventure games, a lot of Sonic games become like one-off stories. Like even now, like we're kind of going backwards, right? Because we're going with a Sonic CD like plotline for movie 4, with potentially their own spin on it. Now, granted, yeah, they could just do spins on everything they want. They don't have to follow a real timeline or anything. Like I don't think we're gonna get an Unleashed movie or a Secret Rings or Black Knight movie or even like Lost World or Colors. Like I feel like that's the stuff we're not gonna see. Like realistically, right? You think of story adaptations they will do or they could do. It would have to be like, I'm trying to think, like Frontiers is one they could adapt, right? The idea of going to these mystical islands, right? That would be fucking awesome. Like I'd love something like that. 06. I think 06 to me, 06 is like the most fascinating, like coolest idea they can do and build up to, but you need Silver introduced, right? Like, but the idea there is phenomenal, right? And I would love if, you know, maybe Tyson and the team, you know, were able to sort of be like, all right, like let's take the cool concepts of 06. You have maybe, you know, a city, you know, you have Elise, you have this, you know, you have some beautiful architectures and areas. You have a more serious storyline where Silver coming from the future being like, you fucked everything, and him hunting him down. But like, how do you do that without it being like Shadow, you know, where Shadow tried to get revenge on Sonic, it doesn't want to hear him out. Like, I don't know, they'd have to rewrite some of the storylines and plot lines, and I'd love to know your opinions in the comment section below, right? But so far I really think, you know, Shadow movie is obvious. Knuckles' plotline where he finds the Chaotix, and I think you have to start doing something with the Master Emerald. I feel like the Master Emerald breaking into pieces, right? And Shadow and like Knuckles having to find them and potentially dealing with Rouge and the Chaotix involved or something. I think that would be so good. Think about like if Knuckles, you know, use one of the dimensional portals to go to different Sonic areas to try to find the pieces, and he's finding these other characters. And like that's like another aspect that I feel like we're still missing from these movies is we know Mushroom Hill exists. We know Green Hill Zone exists. I think now that this series has way more of a budget and we're eyeing, you know, spin-offs, I feel like the idea of going to explore different Sonic areas is finally possible with the budget. Like I said, I feel like there's so many, I want Angel Island still, right? Like Angel Island seems like an incredible, you know, aspect to it. I would even love if we got to the point with Knuckles where like somehow the Master Emerald like grew, right? And he did become at some point the protector of the Master Emerald. Now I know a lot of people say that kind of holds Knuckles down, but in a movie verse where it feels like there might be a conclusive storyline, I think it could be a really interesting plot point to get to. Like that might be, you know, the finale of what they do. You know, like Knuckles becomes the Sworn Protector, which he is already the Sworn Protector of the Master Emerald. But I feel like with what happened in movie 3, like with how easy it was to get out of Wade and for Sonic to go super, you could do something cool there. So I'm potentially seeing a Knuckles spinoff in there. Try to think of like Sonic characters that could really, you know, carry their own weight for a potential spin-off, right? I mean, I think Amy is more like, to me, like it's like with Amy's more of like a with Sonic person. I know you could technically do something with like Amy, Big the Cat, and Cream, kind of like in that series. That'd be cool. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like the obvious ones are characters that work together. Like I feel like a Silver and Blaze spin-off would be really cool. I mean, we're not at that point anymore with Hollywood, right? And I wish we kind of were. I wish we could have like fun spin-off movies. Like I would love a Sonic Riders spin-off. Could you imagine like Sonic Riders spin-off where like, you know, Sonic and the gang are entering the tournament and that's how we get introduced to the Babylonians? But because we know the Babylonians exist, we know that in Sonic movie 2 when they went to the temple with the owl statue, the text in it is Babylonian. So we know Babylon exists in this world. And so I don't know how you would integrate it, right? But I would adore like a spin-off movie that was like Sonic Riders style, where like I feel like these movies should be okay with having some fun. They don't always have to be these crazy things. I mean, Sonic Riders is, I also think like that would be so fucking unique. Like what movie is really doing something like a Sonic Riders where you're like, you know, on these air jets, you know, you're doing all these flips and tricks. Like, I feel like it'd be such a cool way to showcase the entire gang, right? I feel like I would even love it as an animated movie. Like that would be an incredible idea. Like there's so many ideas. Obviously I want you guys to throw them to me in the comments. There's so many fun things they can do with this series, right? And like plot line adaptations and everything, right? Because we've seen technically the storylines of Sonic 1 and 2 and 3 adapted, you know, within Sonic movie 1 and 2. We're about to see Sonic CD potentially / Heroes introduced in this. We had Sonic Adventure 2's plotline. I still do think though, and I know a lot of you guys agree with me, I still think they need to get to Perfect Chaos at some point, right? And I wonder if potentially they're building to that, right? Because I feel like now we're at that point. All right, you have the base trilogy. Now we need the thing where we're like building to like a big climactic like villain, right? That kind of arc or storyline, right? And I feel like Perfect Chaos, like a world destructive, because we have yet to see like, I mean, obviously we had the Eclipse Cannon, which was gonna destroy the world, or Eggman, you know, with the Death Egg trying to destroy things. But I feel like it's different. Like I feel like with Perfect Chaos, that is a cataclysmic like Earth event, like a thing that is actually damaging people on Earth. Because like so far no one, as far as I'm aware, I mean maybe there have been a few casualties, like the casualties quote unquote in these Sonic movies have been like pretty much to zero, right? And so the idea of a Perfect Chaos, which is like a cataclysmic event potentially happening, is a big deal, right? Like that's a big storyline that I feel like you're gonna lead up to eventually. And I know I'm yapping, I'm getting off the point of spin-offs here, but yeah, like the fact that we're at the point with spin-offs, it's probably because you want to have these characters explored, grow, and then all converge at a big moment. I mean, it's so cool that we're even talking about this. Like the fact that Sonic has succeeded at the box office enough to have this conversation is fucking awesome to me. But again, my concern comes from the fact that, like, are we big enough with the Sonic franchise yet that spin-offs can succeed? Because I don't want this to be a thing of like a spin-off doesn't do well or does lesser than the other, and it becomes a problem where, like, they just can't keep up with each other. Because that's always my biggest flaw with MCU is you get all these spin-offs for characters that don't warrant it or they don't do as well and all this stuff. Like, I hope it is still contained to an extent. Like, okay, I'll take a Shadow movie. I'll even take a Silver movie. Knuckles with the Chaotix, maybe. But I feel like at that point, we're like, we're grasping on hairs, right? Because, like, again, I feel like you don't need a bunch of spin-offs like that. But again, like, spin-off storylines, I think, would be really impressive and fun, right? Like, again, like, I doubt they would ever do a Secret Rings as a movie, but it'd be cool, a Sonic Riders as a movie would be cool, right? And so I think you need more ways to explore the world of Sonic the Hedgehog and explore these characters. But regardless, it's exciting that we're at this point. We're at this point with the movie franchise. We're at this point with Sonic the Hedgehog in general. We're like, maybe even game-wise, right? It's been a while since a main character's gotten a spin-off, and we're starting to see that, right? Where we got the Sonic Frontiers DLC that made Knuckles, Amy, Tails playable again. We had Shadow Generations that made Shadow playable. Like, it's very clear to me there's an initiative, an idea here at Sega. There's something they're building towards. They're building towards, the cast coming back together, right? Because remember, in the 2010s, for the longest time, the cast was kind of like cast aside, right? You had Sonic Colors where it was just back to Sonic, right? You had Sonic Generations where it was Sonic, right? You had Sonic Lost World, just Sonic. Sonic Forces, pretty much just Sonic. And an OC. You had the back end of a lot of, the cast. But I think Sonic and, Sonic Team and Sega realized that I think these characters have a lot more to them and a lot more fans than people realize if they're willing to put in the work with them. I feel like they should get to a point like Nintendo, like how Luigi has spin-offs, you have Donkey Kong with spin-offs, you have Wario. Like, I would love if we got to a point with the Sonic series that is big enough to not just for the movies, but for the games and characters to be in their own directions while, always being part of the main storyline. We've got something really special here with the Sonic series. I'm just really happy that these spin-offs are probably happening. So guys, thank you all for watching. Let me know what excites you. What do you think is the coolest, most fun thing we could get out of this? What spin-offs would you like to see? I love you guys. Thank you all for watching. You're the best. And of course, I will see you all next time. Peace out.